What's up, everybody? This is just Tyler breaking in for a requel kind of special talk. Um, one of a sequel to one of my late childhood, early adolescence. Happy Gilmore was released. Happy Gilmore 2. I was 11 when it came out. I watched the first one with Solomon. He's 10. Um, and he laughed and everything. And so I had mid to low expectations for Happy Gilmore 2. I just wanted a movie with some laughs and similar charm and everything, and I got that. But would Happy Gilmore be one I'd return to, or Happy Gilmore 2 be one I return to often? No. And this is kind of just the conversation right here, okay? Comedies work when they're a tight 90 minutes to 100 minutes, okay? An hour and a half. Happy Gilmore 2 is like almost 2 hours, okay? And the biggest issue that I see with Happy Gilmore 2 is basically you have two movies in this one story. It feels like you had two scripts for what a sequel could be, and you kind of just mashed them together. Now, being that it's Netflix, I figured they'd be like, okay, let's retool this and shoot back to back and make Happy Gilmore 2 and Happy Gilmore 3. Now, spoilers ahead for the film. Now, a lot of these comments are going to be coming out of the conversation I had after watching it with my best pal, Brian Peters from the Gravely Amusing podcast. We're going back and forth, so I can't take sole credit for thoughts. Um, but the first thing is, with Happy Gilmore 2, there's no straight man character. There's nothing that keeps it grounded. Every character is kind of farcical and bigger than life. Happy is the closest thing you get to a straight character, but even then, he's not. Even some cameo side characters are just kind of crazy, annoying, outlandish characters, like the three um, people that Happy meet and he plays golf with. But the one thing is, the story, so many of the beats just mirror copy the first film. Like, not structurally, like, just the same thing. And there's so many, like, you could have a callback, but when your callback requires you to insert and always cut back to scenes from the first movie, I think it diminishes the film. Now, there is one in the film where he meets his caddy that he had in Happy Gilmore 1, who is now a golfer, that the callback cutscene, it works because maybe people don't remember the first caddy. But what gets me is you have this great story about him falling because Virginia dies and how Virginia dies sucks, but it mirrors the idea that, in Happy Gilmore 1, his father dies by a hockey puck being shot through the crowd by their favorite player. Happy Gilmore 2, his wife dies by a golf ball hitting her by her favorite golfer, which is her husband. And that's kind of a paraphrase from Brian's wife, Jen. And it's so true of this tragedy that Happy faces. So you have this story that's built in by him trying to do the best for his daughter. And we really get to see a great idea that Happy and his children are a family. That he loves them, they love him. And that they're a close-knit family. And how sometimes children imitate their fathers is fine. But really the heart of the story should have been him as a man of recovery. The alcoholism, trying to overcome the alcoholism, trying to build himself back in his golf game. And it shouldn't have been about him coming back and winning like a tour championship or anything like that. It really should have been about him coming back and going through again to play and him healing himself. And like he could have come in second place. And I think that would have worked better for the story and the idea he's doing it for the money to come back and pay for his daughter's school, but it's really the idea is to rebuild him as a person, and that really is like the first half of the film. You have the Shooter McGavin story, which I like the way they did it in the movie, but it should have been better and more focused on the idea of Shooter coming back and realizing that he put a lot of his insecurities and issues onto Happy, and that Happy beat him, and then he let it just take over and consume him. And it kind of, there's a great moment actually in the film where this character that we'll get to puts down that Happy's wife dies, Virginia, and he says something, and it kind of tweaks in Shooter. And I like the idea that Shooter had respect for Virginia, even though she married Happy and all that, and that this guy putting down this death of a person that he had respect for really helped turn him. And I think that Shooter and Happy kind of doing a Rocky 3, where Apollo Creed trains Rocky to help him overcome, where Shooter and Happy kind of help each other heal and move forward with where they are in life. And like I said, Happy comes out like second place. Um, Shooter gets a redemption in it, and they make enough money to send his daughter to school, and he decides to continue to play golf and get back into it, just more for the fun of it and the life, and not so much about that he needs it. I think that's the story. I mean, I did not like the actor that got to be Chubbs' son. It felt like just one of those extra Happy Gilmore stories. It would have been funny if they could have got Shaq to be Chubbs' son, um, and that was part of it. That would have been really interesting because we've seen Shaq as one of Adam Sandler's friends and uh, guests and all that. That would have been great. Now, I think that where I said there's this whole story about maxi golf, taking golf to the extreme, and what that does, and it's kind of ludicrous and bigger than life about the idea of getting your hip ligament so you can twist farther for golf power. I think that craziness is where the film really falls short. And that there's so much of that's the second half of the movie. It's set up early on, but when the guy approaches Happy in the grocery store, that could have stayed in, okay? And then what you have is when Happy Gilmore ends, you have kind of this moment of the guy like saying like trying to recruit people and bring in this new era of golf. And then that sets up your Happy Gilmore 3, where now Happy's back to playing golf. Life is good. His daughters will. And the story focuses on, aging Happy, trying to save the sport of golf and what golf means to this generation and how Happy changed golf. But change isn't always the best, is that you can change and adapt, but it doesn't mean you have to reinvent something. And that could have been like the heart of the story for Happy Gilmore 3. Now back to Chubbs' son. So all the Maxi stuff, Happy Gilmore 3. Okay? And that's when it's a little too big, but you're just enjoying it for what it is. You've already given us a sequel with all the heart. The idea that Happy accidentally killed Chubbs is in the DNA of the idea if he accidentally killed Virginia. And if you would have it felt very forced in this movie because it's very late in the game. And if you could have got, I think, a better actor to be Chubbs' son, you didn't have to do the the whole wooden hand thing again. Like, we get it. But you could have gotten, like I said, Shaq would have been amazing to play Chubbs' son. That should have been him forgiving Happy, realizing that things happen, and that what Happy was trying to do, and how Chubbs' son healed, and how Happy has to heal. And I really would have liked that. But what I love is I love that Sandler makes these films and he keeps his friends and family in the movies. Now, part of the movie that I don't quite get or understand, I'll comment on, is the uncle that lives in the garage, John Daly. I don't know if he's really supposed to be somebody, like if John Daly's a big personality or something. Um, but I think it felt like that was part, maybe had been written for Alan, his last name evades me, but like the caddy, the original Happy Gilmore, kind of always just staying with Happy. That's what it kind of felt like, and that's what I thought it should have been. So I don't know if there's a reason why it wasn't him or he didn't appear in the film. Um, but that's my quick thoughts and kind of discussion on Happy Gilmore too. Let me know in the comments.